And we're back with the follow-up podcast. And I have my co-star here, Andrew, to join, co-host. Yeah. And we're enjoying going through the Word.
Yes.
Let's take this mic and put it a little further in.
Is that better?
There you go. Yeah, it was pointing away from your mouth. Yeah.
There we go.
All right. I didn't notice that before, so
okay.
I just wanted to get it there.
Hopefully the review was okay.
Yeah, we just did the review.
Yeah.
So, we're in Acts and going through the formation of the church. And one thing that has always struck me, how many people look at the formation of the church and they think it is prescriptive. It is what you should do. Every church should strive to be like this because that's what the apostles did. Apostles being wiser than me, and so that's what they do.
Oh, okay.
And I'm wondering, obviously there are some things very much led by the Spirit.
Yeah.
But, how often have people in churches in general heard of XYZ church somewhere else had a massive move of God. People came to the Lord, and they're like, oh, let's find out how to copy them.
Yeah.
Or they write a book and put it out there, and then people are trying to function that way, right? I was just watching a video recently about purpose-driven life, which before your time, but it was huge. It was huge. Written by Rick Warren, went everywhere, and he was like, by all means, use it. And this guy that was doing the research and talking about it said it really messed up a lot of churches.
How so?
Well, there was this attitude that came with it of we're going to reorganize around this model, and we don't really, if you're not on board, you're an other. And so there were like a lot of pushing and shoving because this is what's going to make us, the next Rick Warren church,
Billy
whatever.
Graham or whatever.
Oh, yeah. And so there was a lot of that attitude and a lot of, well, I don't want to say it occurred in every
creating
situation.
divisions in the church and creating because if you're not part of this program, then you're not as spiritual as us and you're weighing us down. And
you're holding us back from success.
Yeah.
And sometimes we look at Acts and we go, okay, that was a move of God, right? 5,000 in a day come to the Lord in the second chapter of Acts. And people see that as prescriptive. If we just do it exactly like they do it, we'll have the same result.
But it was a different time and a different place.
Exactly.
And different problems.
Sure. They're adapting, feeling, all those things. I think what we can get out of this as we're going through Acts is that God gives us specific things for where we are.
Yeah.
And there is no cookie cutter. There is no formula for implementing the church.
Okay. Okay, that is an interesting perspective.
Okay.
Let's see, my notes didn't have anything.
No. I just wanted to throw that out there. I wanted to get it on the table as part of our discussion because we're going through Acts, and it's there's going to be things in there that that some have taken as this is prescriptive for all churches everywhere. Some element or the heart behind it, maybe I can get on board with that, but the actual practice, not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you started your sermon with Dante's Inferno.
The Infernal Inferno.
So what was going on there? What was the point?
Oh, well, Dante's Inferno has layers of hell. It goes down. And at the very bottom, you have Satan himself. But inside Satan's gnashing teeth are two individuals, Brutus, who betrayed Julius Caesar, and Judas, who betrayed Jesus. And the message is that they are the worst of the worst. They're the very bottom, like just being gnawed on by Satan himself at the very bottom of hell.
Betrayal is the worst possible thing you could do.
Well, betrayal is worse. Certainly that's a message that's in there. Betrayal is the worst. But these individuals specifically are the worst. And my point of bringing that up is I think Judas gets a bad rap because people, they think of him as this unique individual who was uniquely evil, uniquely doing all this stuff. When average human beings do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't need to betray the living incarnation of God on earth in order to have the same heart as Judas.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. It seems like every person in the Bible is a reflection of us in some way.
Well, yeah, their fallen nature is our fallen nature. We both have that, but I think as we get to the latter part of what we're going to cover here today, there is enough description of what Judas did and how he interacted with the situation that shows that he was very human, and you could, but for the grace of God, that could be me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The desire to control.
Yeah.
The outcome of events.
Yeah.
And that almost godlike intervention that he took.
Yes.
Was a affirmation of his sense of being in control over submitting to God or God's will. If he truly was a follower of Christ, he would have known that Christ did, whatever his motivation was, Christ didn't need help to be exposed to a problem, and Christ didn't need, and you couldn't stop Christ from his purpose. So either way, you weren't going to win if he truly understood who Jesus was.
Is there are you saying there's a possibility Judas thought he was helping Jesus?
That is a theory that has been put out.
I have never heard this theory.
Okay, so the theory goes...
that makes no sense to me.
Well, think of it as, and it's not as uncommon as you might think. I'm going to force God's hand by putting him in a bind, right? So that he has to react to it. And I think by the force that I apply, the reaction will be such that it expedites or is more efficient, or it is more directed, or I'll be thanked for doing this. The logic gets twisted and actions gets taken. Now, an example of this in recent memory was a guy who wanted God to show up. He wanted God to stop him from doing something evil. And so he walked into an Amish community, into a school that, for whatever reason, didn't have any adult in the room, excused all the boys, then pulled out a gun and shot like 15, 20 girls, little girls.
Oh, my word.
All because he wanted God to show up and stop it. He wanted to see God or an angel or something supernatural. And so he did something, the most profoundly evil thing he could think of, in order to force God's hand. That's sick. It's sick.
That's very sick. Yeah, very messed up.
And this is a true story. It happened, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that. Yeah.
Man, crazy. Okay, so trying to force God's hand.
That's the theory, that Judas might have been operating under. Whether or not that's the case, we'll know that when we get to heaven.
Exactly.
He may have just done it for the money.
Yeah.
We know he was stealing.
Yeah.
And so maybe he was trying to make money, but that doesn't quite add up, because if you come at Jesus was his cash cow.
Yeah.
If you take a purely agreed position on what Judas was doing, Jesus was his source of continuing income.
Why would he kill the golden goose?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right. And there's also the thought that maybe he thought there would just be a arresting. It would end in crucifixion. Yeah. There's various theories, but in any case, he's trying to control the situation for his own desires.
Okay. So moving on then, Judas is out of the picture, and so the disciples are, something you pointed out is the mindset of Peter and how he had just been, he was trying to take control of the situation. He had denied Christ. And he eventually
chopped off the ear of the person. Yeah.
And then you get in the mindset of him, but all of a sudden he arises as the leader in this group.
Right.
And you kind of elaborated on him and how he, prayer and doing what Jesus was telling them to do, and then eventually trying to find the missing piece, and just the kind of dynamics of the group at that time in that place.
Yeah, it's a very different Peter leading in the group than the guy who just says, never, Lord, I will die to make sure this doesn't happen, or oh no, they're arresting Jesus. Let me draw my sword and come at people and all that. Here he is. He's building consensus. He's building. He's probably already gathered some consensus to be able to stand up and speak to the group that's assembled about the need to replace Judas. And then the process he goes through, it doesn't end with him. It doesn't even end with the decision or the vote or the who has been put forward. He casts it into God's lap by the group casting lots.
This is a question I really wanted. The idea of putting out fleeces or
testing God.
Yeah,
seems like there is a prohibition against that in the temptation of Jesus in the wilderness.
Yeah. So what's this casting lots? Should we use this for our major decisions in life? What's going on there?
Well, I would get in trouble to say yes. Let's put everything down to a game of chance.
Okay.
And I don't think that is the message of what's here.
Yeah.
There's a long history in Judaism that there's the die is cast to the lap, but God decides the outcome. And it has been that chance is truly chance, and God moves it whichever way He wills. Right? And so there is something of the will of God in chance. That was the belief there. I think I guess this might be an instance of description, not prescription, right?
Okay.
Because what we see going forward from this is a challenge to be discerning.
Okay.
To truly discern at the prayer level, letting your spirit respond to the movement of God rather than the movement of some dice on.
Before they even did any of that, they had been praying for days.
Right. Well, they were devoted to prayer and all that, and they prayed about this, and then cast the dice or the tokens, whatever tokens they have that would give an indication of one answer or another.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think actually, going to that chance thing. I don't know if you've ever seen on a Ouija board.
I've heard of them.
You've heard of them. Okay. So a lot of the principles of a Ouija board is everybody puts their hands on this little thing, and it moves to a letter by everybody's hands being on it. Well, there's slight movements from different people, and you're responding to what you feel, and then why have so many hands if whatever?
Yeah.
So that's and then like tarot cards, you shuffle this deck, and then whatever happens to lay out tells a story about your life or something.
Yeah.
Like that. So that's basically saying putting sorcery or a message from beyond or demons into chance. Okay, so
demons
it's
can use chance.
Demons can use chance, right? See,
okay,
and there's some prohibitions against that. I think the takeaway from this is discernment, and growing in discernment comes at a soul level, and you don't need those devices to do that. But that's the culture they were in, and that was something God used.
So how do you develop discernment?
That's a whole nother sermon.
Probably. I just maybe that's a discussion for another time. But that would be a good cool thing to go into.
Well, okay, I think one way you develop discernment, I'll just put this out there, is obedience.
Okay.
You have to be willing to obey what is written and what is clear before that which is between the lines, in a sense, is needed. Before you can start seeing that, and there are life lessons and things that we go through that we develop that sense of discernment. And you've probably met people who are like that. They have very good reasons why taking a course of action fits, and they will advise you on it. Listen to them. For sure.
Yeah,
and that's age and experience that come with that, as well as being submitted to the Word of God.
Okay, so obedience. And
I'm just throwing that out there as an initial thing.
Thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because there's soul level feelings. We were talking about that in youth group, right?
Yeah.
Sensing your own spirit's relationship to God.
Yeah.
That's something that you have to discern and recognize.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's your relationship with God, and then you there's this relationship with each other.
True.
That we got going on.
Which is a part of our relationship with God, related to each other. And there's a sense in the spirit, like I was talking about at youth group, where when you do wrong, you feel that drop, that that turning over is there. And when you do something that God is asking you to do, and that there's just absolute joy that comes with it. And so feeling those two often enough, or especially the joy part, feeling that often enough, and knowing when you do something that is contrary to him, feeling that drop, you go, oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
And restoration feels so good, and then doing what is right feels so good that you feel it at the soul level. Okay. I think people who run after evil have that sense seared, have it so deadened because they have ignored it for so long that they no longer feel either the joy of obedience or the drop of disobedience. And so now they're kind of truly blind, truly lost.
Do they start feeling joy in the opposite?
I think so. I think a depraved mind feels it's totally reversed. They feel joy in going against what God says, going against His Word, going against His character, and so and that's probably tied to the evil side, the demonic side, encouraging and rewarding based on that.
So there, something I've heard. This is just what came to mind as you were talking about this. There's a little bit of the worst in us. There's a little bit of the best in us, and
it's a matter of which you feed.
Something like that. Yeah, except it came out of like Jordan Peterson's whole. How can someone go from living a normal life to putting Jews in
concentration camp,
gas chambers and doing horrific things? How can that happen? And how can some normal person just all of a sudden start doing that? Kind of thing, and how we're all capable of descending into that level of evil.
Well, part of it is for that scenario, forced affirmation. So forcing someone to affirm something that is slightly off, both in word and deed and test, so they have to come back with the right answer. All those kinds of things that can greatly harm your psychology, your sense of the world, right? Being forced, and then eventually you capitulate, or you rebel against it and suffer whatever the consequences are. But many people are quite compliant in life. They are educated in a scholastic system that is anti-God, a news media that is anti-God, and so while it may not be as explicitly stated, the implication there's a lot of leading to implication, which is a form of manipulation. They don't say it, but they say, well, there's this, and there's this, and there's this. Half of them may be false, but they put them out there, and you draw your conclusion, and you feel like it's your idea.
You end up connecting dots
that really aren't dots, or missing dots, or dots that aren't true. All these things can happen to lead you to it, and so like with under the Hitlerian regime, there was radio had just been invented. There was a lot of people assumed that something that came over the radio was, it must be true because it's coming over this marvelous new technology. It's just just persuasive that way. The same way with the TV and the internet. It's gone on down the road from there.
So it's very important what you consume because your mind will want to connect dots.
Yes.
Even if they're
not there.
Even if they're not there.
Yeah. So it pulls on elements of the fallen nature to lead you to a conclusion.
Oh.
And by slow, steady degrees erodes your dependent on your connection to the Spirit of God. And so I think you specifically have to unplug. Yeah. You specifically have to devote yourself to the Word in order to become familiar enough with it for you to obey it, and it to be the primary directive of your life over what you're hearing in society.
Okay. So it also sounds like there's internal force and an external force based on what you're saying. So and then you have to battle both at the same time, but we can't do it alone.
Right. That's why it's so hard, or maybe even impossible. It is impossible to live a righteous life without the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
People want to know, just give me a formula for how to live right.
Yeah.
And they see Christianity as just people who are like, they've got this code and that's their code and such. And they're just using their code to live right by their standards. Mm-hmm. No, it actually is a standard that God gives that that connects to who you are created to be. Mm-hmm. And when you are in alignment with that, it turns on all the lights. Everything works in your soul.
So why is it that, because we see all these people, oh, that's a good person. He's a good guy. They're good,
That usually means they're nice to me.
They're nice to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not necessarily good in any sort of objective sense. They're just nice to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about that before. That makes perfect sense. I mean, they're obviously not nice all the time.
Yeah. People have bad days.
Yeah. So no one's perfect.
Yeah.
But and they may have terrible relationships with some people.
Sure.
That you're not aware of.
Oh yeah. I've had that. Somebody who was really, really nice. Oh, that's Mom. Hang on a second. Yeah. I'll get this. Hello, I'm in a meeting. Yep. He's right here. We're doing the podcast.
Hi, Mom.
Yep. Okay. I'll call you back when we're done.
We'll just leave that in.
I always do. Yeah. If you call in the office or walk in the office, during the podcast, you're in it.
You're in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'd just be retaping it again and again.
Yeah.
Or doing jump cuts.
That would be no fun.
But you were saying
external forces on you. Oh, good people are just nice to you.
Right. Well, I've met people I thought were wonderful. And then you talk to somebody else and they're like, oh, that person did me wrong. I did this. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're like, they're so great. How could you? Yeah. And also, people learn from one relationship, and then they do better with you, but they're still tainted, and it's all. Everyone's complicated. People are complicated.
Yeah, people are very complicated.
Yeah. Which brings me to the church. We're a bunch of complicated people.
Sure.
And we have this mission we're supposed to somehow do together. And and you brought up this idea of, and I have it here, no cliques.
Oh, cliques.
No cliques.
Yeah.
And relating to one another and not just, on the same level, but multi-generationally.
Sure.
All that. And dive into that.
Well, I mean, it really came out of another discussion we had at youth group.
Yeah, that's right.
And we were talking about fellowship, right? Mm-hmm. And we were talking. So I think the model that Peter talked about here, the model that Peter talked out of was he's standing up among the brothers.
Yeah.
So he's representing. He's talking to those assembled. Mm-hmm. So he's proposing the idea. And so there's a sense of moving the idea from a small portion of the group to the larger portion of the group to get agreement. Okay. And for that to happen, you have to have no cliques. You have to have nobody with trying to gain advantage or move without the rest of the group being aware. Now, that's not to say that one person can hold the group hostage.
Okay.
Because that's just a reverse of the same situation. So
is there a click of one person?
Or even to force a compromise, right? Once rational logic has been exhausted and information has been shared and opinions have been considered, there has to be a way forward. Someone has to make the decision of how to move forward, and that should happen. And there's a certain amount of need for some members of the group to submit to the leadership of that group.
But you don't not have that conversation.
But the goal is to have that conversation.
You have that conversation. Everyone is informed. You get feedback, but someone still makes that decision at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it is a terrible thing when you have a two-headed monster. It usually winds up eating itself.
Okay.
With a two-headed monster.
So, are we starting to look prescriptively at this, or are we looking?
I'm deriving a principle from a description of what happened. Not so much exactly what Peter did, but what Peter did indicates. Some building of consensus is a part of it, moving beyond the clique. So, I mean, he had the 12.
Yeah.
Right? Not only did he have the 12, he had the 3. Not only had the 3, he had the one Jesus taught. No. So Peter.
Oh.
Peter could say, all right, there were the 12.
Yeah.
Now Judas is gone.
Yeah.
So we are the ones, right? We're the inner circle. And in fact, out of this 11, there's Peter, James, and John. We're kind of a step above even this. And so we're more. And then, Jesus did talk to me kind of one-on-one about these whole keys of the kingdom thing. So and we could get into debate on the meaning of that particular passage if we want to get to it. But he could have easily fallen into we are the elite.
Yeah.
And we are this clique, and we'll make the decisions. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, he used the sense of the body of Christ even before the notion of body of Christ was declared.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, where did they have this idea? Was this because this is kind of foreign? There was very, you had the Pharisees before, so this idea of bringing everyone together and looking for consensus, is that a new idea?
No, I wouldn't say it's a new idea because you certainly had the Sanhedrin, which was some number of elders. I want to hazard a guess, but it was a number of elders who made decisions by a debate, a debate forum sort of thing. Eventually, the high priest would declare the decision of the group, but there was that culture there.
Okay, but weren't they still elitist a little bit?
Oh, sure, yeah, definitely.
Okay,
yeah. Well, you had the priests and the Levites and the scribes and all that. And Jesus describes them as seeking honor and best greetings, best place, and all those kinds of things. And I don't think we find that in particular in what Peter is doing, and what we find later on. He's very much willing to take the brunt of what's coming down. Not hiding from that.
Because something you pointed out is that this was the invitation to bring Matthias on board was not just hey, join the cool kids club. It was, you want to come and die with us?
Exactly. Yeah. So, looking at the calling, he's they want someone who has been with them from the beginning. Yeah. They want someone who has he's been with them, but he's also been loyal. He's always stuck with them. There's a loyalty. He's not just present, getting his name marked down on an attendance sheet.
Yeah.
No, he's loyal through even the hard times, especially what has happened recently. And then he is willing to be a witness. I think that's what you're saying. Willing to stand up to people who just killed our leader. Yeah. Or tried to, and risk the same fate.
Yeah.
So that was. So they're not asking for somebody to come be popular, wealthy, well known or something like that. It is truly a task of challenge.
Yeah, for sure.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So you also talked a bit about bad leadership, a little bit as well, in how Peter was and how Judas was.
Versus how Judas was.
And then you said something interesting, that Peter and Judas are the same in that way or something.
Well, so they both, like I described Peter earlier on, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. Judas had the idea of take matters into my own hands. But here we see Peter, I surrender matters to the Lord. Judas never did that.
Surrender. Okay.
Yeah.
Unpack that a little bit, this surrender idea.
Well, to surrender is to place your strength under God's control. Or even more generally, it would be to place your strength under anyone's control, right? Yeah. Think of the Japanese surrender in World War II. They came on the ship there outside of Tokyo, and they had to surrender, I think, a sword or something. But they had to sign the terms of unconditional surrender. The Germans had to do the same, sign the terms of unconditional surrender. And that basically said, I place myself in your hands.
Yeah.
Do whatever. And that was not only will I abide by the rules you set, I will pay the penalty, I will take ownership, do this, do that, and the other thing. So they were very much unconditional surrender means you set the terms. Right? And I think there has to be there is a requirement for that in everyone who claims to believe in Christ. You can't come to Christ and negotiate terms. Okay?
Yeah, it's unconditional. Unconditional surrender to Christ.
Right. And so there has to be an absolute trust and reliance. And that's really the bar that is so difficult for the world to get over, because they're like, I see people in my world, and people fail me again and again and again. I fail me. They're looking at themselves. And so if you bring God down to a human level, why in the world would you trust him?
True.
So it doesn't make sense to surrender to someone you consider to be fallible.
Yes. Okay.
Right? Versus when you discover that God is holy, meaning there is no failure in who God is, then he becomes trustworthy. To the point of surrender. Now, obviously, the Germans and the Japanese, they knew that the Allies were not without flaw. They just had no choice.
They had no choice.
Right.
Do you think God gives us no choice
sometimes? God gives us no choice. So we're going to be a predestination here.
It was going to come up eventually.
Meticulous providence.
Sure.
From what I see of Scripture, there is a clear laying of responsibility on the individual human.
Yeah, okay.
So if there is responsibility, there has to be a measure of choice. I am not talking about totally free choice, the ability to warp reality, or
we're not all
to
powerful.
Control God, or any of those kinds of things. I'm saying God gives guardrails that we operate in. We're in this limited 3D space that we live in. It's not at all like the reality of God's presence outside of time. So we don't have that level of freedom, but we do have freedom within guardrails to make some choices as we are discovering and interacting with the reality of God in this world. So we see it in nature, we see it in our soul, and we've been given the tools to discover God in the physical world. All nature speaks of him, and in the spiritual world, the heart has his law written on it.
Okay, so I guess there are exceptions, like with Paul or whatever, literally knocked off his horse.
Sure, but that's not really an exception. He's still made a choice,
I guess.
Sure,
but when it's so clearly laid out for you like that,
So God laid it out clearly. That doesn't make it any less a choice.
Would you say that God makes it clear to everyone in the same way for each person?
No, but he does lay it out clearly enough for that person.
Mm.
Paul needed to be whopped upside the head.
Okay. I mean, I could use some whopping upside the head every now and then.
Do you need whopping upside the head, or do you want to push God to do what you want him to do? Are you trying to... Yeah, it'd be nice. Every single one of us would like... I would like, you get up, I would like Jesus to come sit down right where you are and let me interrogate him, and get to the bottom of this. Everybody says that. But remember, there were people who actually did that in Jesus' day with him, and they did not believe.
Okay. That always confused me. Why?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Maybe before he rose from but then he was doing signs.
Sure.
He was healing people and walking on water and stuff like that. From our perspective, it seems like a duh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, well, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah. Almost literally. But it's 2026 now. 2026 years later.
All right. Yeah.
But
that's right.
Yeah, it's always confused me how, the Pharisees and Sadducees or whatever, but I can kind of see, how they want to keep their position. They like being important. And Jesus uproots all that.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, the culture of the day was, we've got this figured out. This is how this is going to happen. And this guy comes along and says it's different. This is, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. But the temple's going to be torn down. I'll rebuild it in 3 days.
Yeah.
What in the world? This guy's full of new wine, something like that.
Yeah.
And so you imagine you're a member of that group.
Yeah.
You don't want to be thought a fool, right? So if you're the one that breaks from the group and says, actually, this Jesus guy has a point, both scripturally, and he backs it up with evidence of what he's saying, it bears out to be true.
Yeah.
That occurring, you don't want to be the one who is saying, he has a point, and everybody laughing at it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Were there economic ramifications?
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's always comes down to money.
And economic ramifications are tied to social standing. So if you're a priest or a Levite or a Hebrew, scribe. If you're one of those positions, among others, there were social ramifications, family ramifications, and that would lead to financial problems.
Makes sense. You did not want to fall out of favor with the system.
No. Yeah. So that happened a lot.
Yeah. So in today, there a version of that for us?
In some places, yeah. Saying you're a Christian, follower of Christ, have a moral standing. There's been enough fooling the public to render that a mark against you in terms of, hiring, firing. It's not supposed to happen, but it does, regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the education system in this country.
Yeah.
98% woke liberal individuals. And if you try to be at all conservative, there is a institutional way to push you out.
Oh.
Yeah. So scholastic pursuits is very monolithic in their ideology, and they do not tolerate diversity in those settings.
It's ironic.
Yeah, for the people who say they're so tolerant and diverse.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
As long as you agree with us.
As long as you agree with us. Yeah, we're fine. Yeah. So that's always been the case in society.
Yeah, true.
But it seems to be manipulated in many ways in our modern culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, ramifications for what you believe. And I think that's what he's saying when they're bringing on Matthias, is there are going to be ramifications for you. Are you willing to stand for that? Are you willing to be a part of that? And he was.
Yeah.
And then later on, others will be. You got Stephen and the deacons that will be called. So, yeah. A lot of that.
So, I mean, there's how they went straight to prayer. You know, that was one of my big takeaways was just take things straight to prayer.
That's what I was saying.
Make a big decision, whatever.
Is you are called. Matthias is not the last one to be called.
No.
People have been called to stand as witnesses. You are called to stand as witness.
Yeah.
Not them in that place in that time, but you are called to stand as a witness ongoing. And so doing that requires prayer. It requires submission to the Lord, taking it to the Lord, and letting God qualify you. Letting God's Spirit in you qualifies you for the job of being a witness.
Oh, so like just right off the bat, you get saved and you can just go out and share the gospel.
You can share your testimony.
Oh, you can share the testimony.
That's what God did for me.
Okay.
Whether or not you would be able to teach, able to lead, all those kinds of things, that may come with maturity over time. Paul says, don't put a new believer in a position of authority. Don't do that, because they don't have the tools to be able to develop there.
Okay. But you can share your testimony.
Yes,
you don't. If you're a Christian, you can share your testimony.
Yes. And that's something you learned on your trips to Brazil.
Yes, I did.
With Phil Marketing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're going again in the fall, so I'm looking forward to it.
No, the great thing about mission trips, you're already outside your comfort zone. You might as well go all the way.
That's right. Yeah.
You might as well go all the way.
Whatever God tells you to do.
Yeah.
You don't have any excuse not to.
And if they have a problem with you, you can't really understand them anyway. So
it can be translated from you, and you can learn.
Exactly.
You can definitely learn from the situation. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Well, cool. This has been fun.
It has been.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for joining us on the follow-up podcast. We try to do this every week, and we're learning through the book of Acts right now. And if you have a question, please drop it in the comments below. We'll try to address it on the next episode. And we just appreciate your like and sharing of this podcast. Thank you. God bless you. And we'll see you later.
Bye.